Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC Vegas 49, Islam Makhachev versus Bobby King Green. And Shaq, it's going down this Saturday night, live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. You got top 5 future title challenger Islam Makhachev looking to make it 10 wins in a row against a guy that we have all the respect in the world for, and who honestly should be fighting for the BMF belt, Bobby King Green. What an absolute legend of the sport. Should be an exciting fight while it lasts.
Yeah, man. I mean, Bobby Green, he's a legend of the sport. I mean, not maybe achieved, some crazy accomplishments or anything, but we've been following his career since Strikeforce, and it's good to see him after that last performance against Nasrat. I mean, that bludgeoning where he left his face looking like, chunks hanging off. I mean, it's glad that they reward him with the main event spot. I mean, now it's a fill-in fight. We know not too many people are gonna fight Islam Makhachev on short notice. I mean, you usually need a full camp to prepare for some grappling like that. So, props to Bobby, man. Win or lose, he's a G in this game. And Islam, man, this is a good opportunity to, if you're really the number one contender, come out here and finish this guy. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the fight doesn't go the distance. It's currently plus 250. Excuse me, the fight goes the distance is plus 250. So it'll be interesting to see if Bobby can survive these 5 rounds. Bobby is historically an extremely durable and tough guy. Only been finished once in the UFC by the number ranked lightweight contender Dustin the Diamond Poirier via knockout. I don't think that Islam is gonna drop him standing, but this fight hits the mat. We talked about it last week. The first takedown might not land. The first 3 takedowns might not land, but Islam will be there for that 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And I'm curious to see how Bobby reacts, when they're both tired. So I cannot wait to break down this whole card start to finish. And everybody smash that like button for us. And without further ado, let's get down to business, man. Because first up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Victor Altamirano. He's 10-1, and he's taking on Carlos Hernandez, who is 7-1. And currently, they got Carlos Hernandez minus 140. The comeback on Victor Altamirano is plus 120. So both these guys were on Contender Series, and they both had very spirited efforts. Carlos Hernandez, he's a guy actually trains in Chicago with Bilal Muhammad, with Ignacio Bahamondes, with that whole crew. Under Lewis Taylor, and I even spoke to Lewis Taylor about him, and Lewis always flies straight with me about if guys are focused, if this and that. He told me this kid has a dream and a passion, and this kid's in there every single day. And he didn't even have to tell me that. All I had to do was watch his fight with Daniel Perez on Contender Series, which to this day, I mean, look, it might not have been Sodiq Yusuff versus Mike Davis. It might not have been, Howley and Paiva versus Nascimento, but I would say it's like top 5 or top 10 best Contender Series fights I've ever seen. I mean, him and Perez, he's a kid from Spain. They had this absolute dogfight that came down to the final seconds, man. And Hernandez really dug deep, and it was truly an impressive performance, to the point where during that fight, I mean, I was tweeting like, let's sign both these guys. Let's get them both in there with like a Tim Elliott right now. That's how I felt about their levels at the time. Whereas with Victor Altamirano, I mean, look, he's a Mexican warrior, and one thing he brings to the table, besides his incredible heart and his opportunistic finishing ability, is he's, kind of a taller man for the flyweight division. He's 5'8". He's got the 70.5-inch reach. And let me emphasize, he's a Mexican fighter. He's not going to go down without a fight. So what's interesting about his fight with Carlos Candelario was it was actually the first fight in Contender Series history where both guys got signed, the winner and the loser. And the reason being is that a lot of us thought Carlos Candelario actually won the first 2 rounds of that fight, but Victor Altamirano showed that Mexican heart, came back and really put it on him in the 3rd. Ends up winning the split decision, controversial, but Dana was so impressed he signed both guys. Now, you know how I talk about Dana, what he says, after these Contender Series fights. I was surprised he didn't sign that Daniel Perez kid from Spain, after the Carlos Hernandez fight. I thought, hey, if you can give, Candelario a shot, why not give Perez a shot too? But, maybe he'll get one down the line. But the bottom line here is my issue with Altamirano is this. is that he's very content to, not stuff the takedowns. He's overly confident in, his ability to get submissions off his back. He submitted Lloyd McKinney with a triangle choke. And but here's the thing: you gas out on a guy like Victor Altamirano, and he's gonna go full Mexican on you, man. I mean, like, he's gonna go out there and try to take it to you, man. So you cannot show him any weakness. But the beautiful thing about this matchup is Carlos Hernandez is the absolute opposite of weakness. Carlos Hernandez, he's the one I was telling you all. He trains in Chicago with Bilal Muhammad. That last fight against Perez was all the proof I needed that this dude can dig deep, and it's not going to be a situation where he gasses and Altamirano takes over. So for that reason, I got Carlos Hernandez just being slightly more skilled than him. Like, I think that Victor Altamirano is going to have a lot of fun fights, but there's a lot of holes in his game. You can't just be acceptant to give up these takedowns and try to fight for subs off your back. And yeah, I get on the feet. He's long. You got to look out. But I think Hernandez has the goods to come out here and beat him. So give me Carlos Hernandez to win his UFC debut.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's gonna be a war, man. I love the flyweights. The flyweights, they come to fight. I see this fight probably being back and forth throughout the whole way. I mean, look, yeah, he does give up he does go to his back a lot, but Carlos Hernandez, he's got to watch his cardio, cuz when you fight these long guys, you going back and forth from the ground to the back to standing. I mean, it drains a lot of energy, and you're dealing with a long guy now, and they're throwing knees, straight shots, and now you're tired. So, look, I think Carlos Hernandez is slightly better as well, but as far as a betting side, I think it's lined accurately, give or take either way. But I'll go on the opposite side. I'll take Victor Altamirano to get the win, kind of just using his range down the stretch and sneaking out a win.
Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Ramiz Brahimaj. He's taking it on short notice. He's 9-4, and he's fighting Michael Gillmore, who is 6-4. And currently, they got Ramiz Brahimaj minus 360. The comeback on Michael Gillmore is plus 315. So, I mean, listen, Shaq, the majority of Ramiz Brahimaj's wins have been first-round submissions. We know already that Michael Gillmore has a knack for getting tapped out. And in addition to that, I'm pretty sure that he wasn't even supposed to make that UFC debut. Like, wasn't actually, I'm wrong. They actually did match up Patrosyan and Gillmore. I thought for some reason Patrosyan was supposed to fight someone else, and Gillmore stepped in short notice. But I guess they gave him a contract. So props to him on that. And look out for this Nick Maximov Patrosyan fight. You got, Maximov. He's an OV, just so you guys know. This motherfucker is an OV, so just remember that. And Patrosyan's a D1 wrestler, so I can't wait for that fight. But as far as this is concerned, look, I know Ramiz, there's some questions. Every time he's fought someone who's well established, I mean, he hasn't just lost. First fight, he got his ear ripped off. Second fight, he got completely demoralized. But Michael Gillmore and Court McGee cannot be compared in the same sentence, man. I mean, we're talking about a guy in Court McGee who beat Robert Whitaker back in the day, a guy who beat Brad Tavares on The Ultimate Fighter, won The Ultimate Fighter, has been in the UFC over 10 years. So I just don't think that's a fair comparison. However, what I do think is important to take from that fight is, what did that do for Ramiz's confidence? Is he down in the dumps right now? Also, at Fortis MMA, they haven't been getting the best results lately. That being said, I still think he has enough to overcome the challenge ahead of him, go out there, find that submission, and get another first-round finish in the UFC. So props to Michael Gillmore for making it to a second UFC fight. That's something I didn't expect to happen. But I think as long as Ramiz is just not so compromised by that last beating he took, that hopefully he can come out here and and shine. And Bilal Muhammad also started off his UFC career 1-2, and he kind of looks up to Bilal as like a mentor. And Bilal told him, like, hey, keep your head up, kid. Like, I started my UFC career 1-2 as well. And I think this is a good matchup for him to get back on track. So the only thing you got to worry about, sometimes when these fights go past the first round with Ramiz, if he expends all his energy and can't get that first round sub, that's when fights tend to go downhill. But I have a feeling that here he'll be able to have success throughout the fight. And I think at times Ramiz shows, like, sometimes, I bet, like, in the gym, he's a motherfucker on the mats, man. Like, I think that he's probably gives people the hardest roles. It's just about, it's just about making it happen under the bright lights. But I think this is a good opportunity for him, and I think he comes out here and submits Michael Gillmore.
Yeah, I think it's just levels, man. Honestly, plain and simple. Michael Gillmore probably shouldn't be in the UFC. I mean, he's just not good enough. And then when you look at Ramiz, he does have some good skills on the mat. He does train with a pretty good team, even though that team isn't getting the best results right now. But I mean, he has been in there in two of his first three fights with Court McGee and Max Griffin. So I mean, that's like real. Those are real guys right there. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's gonna come out here and probably get his first round submission, or it's just like, yeah, man, I sense a little bit of nervousness with Ramiz. I sense a little bit of stage fright. I sense a mental thing more so. He just seems like he's not giving his best effort. But let's see, he was fighting tough guys. When he fought a 6-3 guy, Sasha, he took care of business real quick. So I'm assuming he'll probably feel more confident. He'll probably come out here, implement his game plan, get that takedown, and get that submission. So yeah, Ramiz for the win.
Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got two bantamweights fighting at featherweight. And just to make a clarification, because I know that Jonathan Martinez, has had some weight issues, so a lot of people are just painting the brush, saying that, oh, he was struggling, so he asked for it to move up. It was actually Alejandro Perez who asked for this fight to be at 145. Now, I don't know the reasoning behind that. Maybe he didn't want to cut weight. Maybe he's dealing with an injury, but that's all speculation. So all I know is the Perez camp asked for this fight to be moved up, and I know for a fact Jonathan Martinez wasn't going to say no to that. So, but yeah, we got Alejandro 22-8-1 taking on Jonathan Martinez, who's 14-4, and currently they got Jonathan Martinez minus 240. The comeback on Alejandro Perez is plus 200. Look, we can agree, technically speaking, if we want to see who's got the cleaner strikes, and it becomes this pretty point fighting battle, that I do think that Martinez has the edge there. However, Martinez has been weaseled before. You can call the Andre Ewell fight one of the biggest robberies you've ever seen, but it's like Judge 1 scored it for Andre Ewell, Judge 2, Judge 3. It wasn't like a split. Like all three judges scored it for him. Even one had it 30-27 for Andre Ewell. So basically what I'm trying to say is that even if it was even if we consider that a bullshit decision, like it shows that, hey, this kid can be weaseled. And guess who's really fucking good at weaseling these split decision type fights? So I guess my question for you, Shaq, is, are we past the days where Alejandro could kind of, squeak past these guys a little bit, get dropped in a fight 2 times, and then come back and still win that round? Like, you remember that Sukumtut fight back in the day? Or is this going to be Jonathan Martinez controlling the range, dictating the pace, maybe landing one of his beautiful knees up the middle? I'm excited between this fight between two Mexican warriors.
Yeah, man. Maybe if this was like 3 years ago, I would have probably said so. But now, to be honest, man, I think this fight is right up Martinez's alley. Like, honestly, I think when I heard that Alejandro wanted this fight at 145, I wasn't surprised, because when you look at him in his last fight, you could tell that there's some extra weight on there, and he looks visibly older. I think Song did a number on him. That knockout loss, he had a big break between that fight and the Johnny Eduardo fight, where he got the submission. He definitely looked older to me, man. Some of these Mexican fighters, I feel like they're not in good condition anymore. I think you can't, think of what you thought of them a few years ago. I think Alejandro's another case, man. I think Martinez, yeah, he has been weaseled. Yeah, I'm not sitting here saying that he's trustworthy at that price, but I think that he's the much better striker fundamentally. I mean, Alejandro leaves his chin up in the air. And when we talking about when's the last time he weaseled somebody? I mean, that was a long Eddie Wineland. I mean, that was quite some time ago, and I just don't think we're gonna be dealing with
it was quite some time ago, 2018.
I think we're not dealing with the same guy anymore. He kind of reminds me of a similar situation with Gabriel Benitez, not with the maybe the durability, but I just don't see that last fight with Johnny Eduardo. You got Johnny Eduardo's like how old? I mean, the guy's
actually 41
years old, and then you see Alejandro in there getting into exchanges where he's still getting wobbled a little bit, and Cody Stamann, I think, was the one that ended his win streak, and since then that fight was kind of boring as hell, man. And I don't know, man. I just think this is a good fight for Martinez. I think, yeah, he did mess up against Davy Grant as a big favorite, but Davy Grant is in the pocket swinging big haymakers. I mean, like he fought Adrian Yanez, and Adrian Yanez even had to play it safe a little bit to get through that because Davy Grant is taking like major chances in the pocket. Like Alejandro is on the outside, like it's real sloppy, it's real ugly. I think Martinez comes out here, catches him with the left kick at some point, and that last win, even though that dude, I think he got cut, maybe the Georgian, he was on steroids, dude. Like, and I thought it was a good veteran performance from Jonathan Martinez. Like, that was a risky fight. You find an undefeated Georgian on short notice on steroids. Like, I mean, I thought he did a good job, man. His fight previous to Davy Grant against Thomas Almeida, he looked great. Put a clinic on him. I think in certain fights where dudes like to sit on the outside and like Alejandro try to point weasel. I think those fights are good for Martinez. I think the fights that are bad for him are the ones that are like Andre Uhl and Davy Grant. Big hitters that are gonna stand in the pocket and really try to take him out. So I'm gonna go with Martinez to knock him out.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man, because it's like I think that Martinez, he fights his best fight. I think he's winning this fight, man. I think he's got the range control, the distance, obviously the superior technique standing. He's got some devastating knees down the middle, and just some very opportunistic strikes at his disposal. I think his get-up game is getting a lot better, and I think he's starting to, most importantly, feel more comfortable inside the octagon, which is a huge thing. It's just that, when talking about these Mexican warriors, like a guy like Alejandro, now I see where you're coming from in terms of comparing him to Mowgli, just in the sense that they were on the same season of the Ultimate Fighter Latino America, so they might be kind of trending downward together, which is interesting because on that same season you had the Cheeto Veras and the Yair Rodriguez's. So it's just crazy to see how different ways people's careers have gone. It's just, my whole thing is that sometimes Jonathan Martinez gets a little complacent in there. And those are the spots when Alejandro Perez can kind of come out here and just, push that pedal to the metal, just make it that ugly, dirty, Mexican, gritty war. And if he can do something like that, then I think he can weasel the split. But I don't think it's going to be a dominant performance by Perez. I don't think it's going to be a finish by Perez. I think it's more so that I'm not sure if I trust Martinez at minus 240, minus 250. I think that Turbo's been in there with some better guys. I thought he had a good fight with Cody Stamann. The Yadong Song fight, Yadong's about to knock out another, well-known established vet. So, and I can't wait to talk about that one. You've been hearing about Marlon Moraes' camp in Thailand, about the shit he's been going through, man, like trying to change his career and then ends up getting COVID there. Like, goddamn, like the dude can't catch a break. And we'll talk about that fight when the time comes. I mean, look, the pick is Martinez, but like, it might be a controversial take, but I kind of do think that this is a dog or pass situation, and I would strictly be banking on a weasel job, which has been done many times before. So yeah, the pick is Martinez, but the line keeps getting the line keeps increasing. We see plus 2 this, plus 2 that, plus 300. Like maybe I'll take a shot and hope that he can weasel him, because sometimes Martinez looks lazy out there. Sometimes Martinez gives up easy takedowns. So let's see what the deal is. Now, next up, oh, this is going to be good. Now, everybody smash that like button for us and hit that subscribe button. And after the show, give us a comment, whatever it takes. Like all those kind of things help build the channel as I'm learning as we go. So next up in the 155-pound division, we got a matchup between Terrance McKinney. He's 11-3, taking on Fares Ziam, who is 12-3. And currently, they got Fares Ziam. It just depends where you look. Some places it's a minus 110 pick 'em a piece. Other places it's minus 125 Ziam, and the comeback on McKinney plus 105. And what's interesting, Shaq, is that last time they were actually scheduled to fight, I bet on Ziam, but I bet him at plus 110. So, there's a big difference between minus 125 and plus 110. That being said, could he still look like a favorite in this spot? Because stylistically speaking, man, I mean, look, Terrance McKinney is going to come out hard, and I think that in this spot it behoove him to go back to his wrestling chops. But I just got questions about if fights get extended, because like I know Terrance McKinney is going to come balls to the wall. Like that's one thing we can count on him for. Like win, lose, or draw, and take away all the stupid social media shit that Terrance has been, spouting off. Like the dude's still gonna come out here and try to put it on you. Like that's one thing about McKinney. Like he ain't gonna run away. I mean, maybe when he's tired, but out the gate, he ain't gonna run away. He ain't gonna pussyfoot. This guy's gonna come out here, either try to take your head off or try to slam you on your head. So Ziam's got to be ready early. But I mean, do you think Ziam pulls away down the stretch, or are we looking at another historic finish by Terrance McKinney?
Yeah, I think that historic finish thing is definitely not happening. Look, I think Terrance McKinney's got a bright future ahead of him. I think he's, his last few fights, he's been coming out here knocking guys out in less than a minute, doing, that good thing. I think he's a good fighter, a good young fighter. But I think Ziam hasn't really been getting enough credit. I mean, we're talking about a K1 champion at 18 years old. He makes good reads. Good decisions. Yeah, look, the wrestling definitely needs some work, but he's a young fighter as well. He's only like 23, 4 years old. I mean, this guy is super young. Now he's mixing it in with some good guys at different camps. And like this guy, like I said, he's got his head on straight. Now, Terrance McKinney, I don't know if he has his head on straight. I mean, I don't like to, go too crazy into, the social media shit, but like the dude's been running his mouth for a long time, and let's see if he can back it up. Like, he's been saying he's not losing to an Algerian. Hey,
I thought the dude was from France.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, well, his heritage or whatever. But like, I think let's see if he can back that up. Let's see if he can go 3 rounds, because I know Ziam is ready to go 3 rounds, and I think Ziam is just going to be more focused in that cage. I think when things for Terrance if things don't go his way right off the bat, and if he doesn't come out here and get that first round KO, and I don't think he's going to. I think Ziam has good range, he has good distance. Like I said, he makes good reads, and I think that Terrance is thinking that this kid is scared of him, and thinking that because you knocked out a guy that's been dropped in pretty much every single one of his UFC fights, that okay. But I think Ziam is going to have something for him. I think he's going to outclass him. I think it's going to get ugly down the stretch. I think Terrance doesn't have his head on straight. Let's see if he comes out here and backs up his talk. So I'm going with Ziam to kind of run away with this down the stretch. Maybe the first round's a little tough. He gets taken down. He makes some work a little bit, but I think Ziam's the better fighter. I think we're going to see a much improved fighter on Saturday.
Look, I would never sit here and say the McKinney and Frevola fight was a fluke. It was not a fluke, because Frevola has been dropped like 5 times in the UFC. So yeah, that was definitely one of the possible outcomes. But I still have questions about what would have happened if that fight got extended, because Frevola is a dog down the stretch. It just didn't get to play out that way. But if you think McKinney's just going to come out here, land a 1-2 on Ziam, and be on his way, I think you're sorely mistaken. This kid Ziam, what you got to understand is his UFC debut, he goes in there with Don Madge. Don Madge is a guy who's known for, he's had 70 to 90 kickboxing bouts. Like, he's also a credentialed kickboxer. Don Madge was the one trying to wrestle. Don Madge was the one that wanted no part with Ziam on the feet. You look at the Jamie Malarkey fight. Jamie Malarkey just knocked out Devontae Smith. Jamie Malarkey knocked out Kama Worthy prior to that. And I'm not saying, I know Kama Worthy's chin is an issue. That's not my point. My point is Malarkey gets these devastating knockouts.
Malarkey's got a chin of steel, man.
Malarkey's got these devastating knockouts on his record, goes out there against Ziam, wants nothing to do with the striking. The Luigi Vandermini fight. Look, I talk about this all the time. And firstly, those first 2 rounds were a clinic by Ziam. 3rd round, shit didn't go his way, but he overcame adversity. He didn't quit. So props to him. But there's a misconception about Luigi that, he's 1-3 in the UFC, therefore he's a bum. But what you got to remember about Luigi Vandermini is all 4 opponents that he's fought in the UFC have had to go through shit against him. Like, he's a tough out, even if his record ain't the best. Zaleski got his back taken against Luigi Vandermini. Justin Ayari got knocked out. Justin Ayari got dropped by Darren Till like 7 times and then get knocked out. First thing that Luigi throws at Justin Ayari gets him out of there. The Ziam fight, yeah, he lost that fight, but the 3rd round, he a lot of people thought it might have been a 10-8. And then the Paddy Pimblett fight, he lost that one too, but he landed a nice little shot on Paddy Pimblett. So all I'm trying to say here is that, like, this kid Luigi Vandermeeni's had moments in all his fights, win, lose, or draw. So I wouldn't just sit here and discount the fact that Perez had some adversity to overcome in the last round, and actually I think it's a good thing, because I'm not convinced that McKinney is the type to overcome adversity. I think McKinney is the type that just comes out, like I said, balls to the wall, firing out the gate, trying to get you out of there. But historically speaking, fights get extended, and he doesn't do the best, man. I mean, that Sean Woodson fight, it's not just about this perfectly timed flying knee. I mean, some of the striking I saw from Terrance there when he was getting tired was very, very ugly. I'm not convinced that just because he caught Favolo in the first exchange, that all of a sudden this guy's this newly found and revitalized striker. I just don't see it like that. Whereas Perez, with him, I think that pretty soon here, you're actually going to start to see him get some highlight reel knockouts. I feel like we haven't even I feel like, oh, sorry, I just spilled all over my mixer. I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface. Let me finish this breakdown, and I'm going to clean this up. I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface on what Fares Ziam is capable of. So I'm going to pick him to win this fight. And yeah, I got Fares Ziam winning this one. So next up in the featherweight division, we got Josiane Nunes taking on Ramona Pascual. Shaq, I'm gonna let you take this one real quick while I clean this fucking mess I just made. So give me a second, man. So yeah, talk about Pascual versus Nunes.
Yeah, man, this fight with Josiane Nunes and Pascual, I'm excited for, man, because Nunes, she's a small girl for 35 and 145. I mean, she's short. She's definitely outsized here against this Pascual girl. But I just think, Pascual, on the other hand, I think this is going to be pretty much a similar situation. I think she's got a 6-2 record here, but I think I don't want to say a fake 6-2 record, but it just doesn't add up to me. I mean, if you just look at her last fight against the 2-0 girl that she fought, it was a legit soccer mom. Like, I'm talking one that you would see at your kids, soccer practice, with the Odyssey van. Like, like, I'm not even joking. Like that, and that girl was 2-0. Like, you talking about Josiane Nunes, she's coming from the Brazil scene, a real scene where there's a lot of girls, a lot of talent, and I think that her last fight, yeah, being Malecki might not be the best and all that, but she was undefeated. But like, she came out there and put a beating, a bludgeoning on her to a point where, like, damn, okay, this girl is pretty for real. And I've seen her on that Brazil female Muay Thai scene with Carol Rosa and Tyler Santos and Marina. Her gym is the one that actually yeah, like, her gym is the one that actually runs the show. So I think she's gonna come out here and knock Ramona Pascual out, man. To be honest, like, Ramona Pascual just isn't ready for this. She's at a much more, lower level of MMA. Yeah, she does have size, and she is thick, and she is bigger. But I think that Josiane she's used to fighting big girls, man. I think she can stuff the takedowns, but I just think that when this girl gets hit on the nose by Josiane, I think it's gonna be a real problem. That Superman punch, I like that from Josiane, to cover the distance. I think Josiane might actually be something. Not saying a future champ or anything, but around for a long time in the mix, and I think she's gonna knock Ramona Pascual out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, okay, so I didn't get a chance to do the records and all that because I spilled all over my mixer, but let's get down to it. So Josiane Nunes, 8-1, taking on Ramona Pascual, who's 6-2. And just so you know, this fight's at 145 pounds. So this is a historic fight. Name the last time you saw a 5'1" fighter in the UFC fighting at 145 pounds. And if you can name that, I'll PayPal you $100. So currently they got, where are the lines on this fucking shit? Here it is. Okay, Josiane Nunes minus 210 to come back on Ramona Pascual is plus 175. So look, Ramona Pascal's got a few things going for her. I mean, listen, she's big for the weight class, and if she gets on top of Nunes, that's the area of concern I have in this spot, man. Like, she's a big girl. I've seen her go out there, finish people with key locks. And now, granted, I agree with you. The level of competition was, was terrible, but at least she's going out there and handling them. Like, it's like one thing to go out there and, finish these girls in the first round. It's another thing to go out there and have split decisions with them. So at least she's, distinguishing, she's separating herself from the pack. And she is a big girl and she is aggressive. It's just that it's a little bit different with Josiane Nunes. Like, when's the last time you saw someone that was like 5'1" having that one hitter quitter? I mean, we can talk about the John Linekers, but I'm talking about the chicks. Like, you don't see that kind of power from the ladies divisions too often. And when we do, we take note of that. So I am taking note of that. So I think that the only path to victory here for Pascual is to somehow get on top, get her crucifix going, maybe attack Aquila, something like that, hold her down, use that size. But aside from that, man, I really do think that the shots and the impact from Josiane Nunes, like, I'm not convinced Ramona Pascual has been hit like this before, whereas I have evidence that Nunes has gone the distance with Tyler Santos, so like, I just think it's a different level of competition. So, and I do think Ramona Pascual will be back. I think she'll win a fight or two, just not Saturday night. So give me Josiane Nunes to come out here and win this fight. And it really is, like I said, sometimes on the guys' records, when you see, they knocked out a bunch of people, coming to the UFC, it's I hear fighters talk about it. It's hard to just rock someone in the UFC, let alone knock them out. But this girl, Josiane's got a knack for it. And I think you might see some spectacular finishes from her along the way. So I like this matchup for her, and I think she comes out here and gets the dub. Obviously the only concern is the size difference. That's it. But aside from that, give me Nunes. Now, next up in the 155-pound division, I'm very excited about this one. We got Ignacio Bahamondes. He's 12-4, taking on Rong, who is 19-4. Great fight between two prospects in the lightweight division. And currently they got Ignacio minus 220. The comeback on Rong is plus 180. So, man, here's one where both guys, now don't take this the wrong way, but they kind of both maybe underperformed in their UFC debuts, but they really showed out in their second appearances, man. I mean, Rong went out there, man, and the kind of clinic he put on that Brandon Jenkins kid, man, I mean, he schooled him bell to bell in all areas of the game. And it's funny because it's like, you look at a guy like Rong on his regional scene. This dude was out here getting flashy finishes. This dude was like a superstar. This guy, like, he's got the image, he's got the pink hair, the sunglasses, like, he's got his own thing going on. He also might be one of the younger fighters on the UFC roster. Now, sometimes with these ages, from people from that side of the world, you're not quite sure. He's another guy that's 21, but we don't really know if he's been 21 for the last 10 years. But all bullshit aside, man, I think he's a very talented prospect. And with Ignacio Bahamondes, he's one of these guys, I've been hearing about him for years. Like, I hear, like, in the gym, like, this guy is like the most world-class striker, and I hear he gives top 5 UFC welterweights issues striking in the gym. I hear he's just that fucking good on the feet. It's just that sometimes in the fights, he doesn't always rise to the occasion in terms of how good he could be. Like, he's always hanging in there in the fights. I mean, the guy's got mad hard. I've seen him eat some shots and just keep coming forward. He's got an insane chin. It's just one of those things where you want to see him perform how he performs in the gym inside the octagon. And from time to time, you're going to see some special moments from Ignacio Bahamondes. And I think he's definitely someone to look out for. It's just there's some things here that I'm worried about, such as underperforming in this fight, which is something that has kind of been an issue for Ignacio. Like, I feel like in some of these fights he's lost, like, he's like way better than these dudes. It's just he might just like fight to the level of his competition from time to time. But if we can finally tap into that phenom, if maybe this first UFC win gave him that confidence to know that, hey, you are that dude, then I think he can come out here and actually put a clinic on Rong. It's just what I'm worried about is sometimes Ignacio doesn't fight how you want him to fight. He fights to the level of his competition, and Rong is no slouch, man. Rong can knock people out, he can take people down, and he can grind you out. Like, he's a very talented young prospect. So I understand why people are saying this is a dog or pass situation. I lean Ignacio, but this is one of the fights that I'm very curious to see how it plays out, because I think the winner of this fight and even the loser of this fight, I think they both have bright futures in the division. It's just about seeing how the careers pan out. But give me Ignacio Bahamondes to hopefully put on some kind of artistic mastery standing. Like, I know he's capable of it. It's just sometimes doesn't always perform how you want him to, but if he performs, I think he wins. Give me Ignacio for the dub.
Yeah, this is a tough fight, man, because I feel like both these guys they were they were hyped up coming in. I actually kind of stuck my neck out there for Zurong in his UFC debut. Like I really thought I saw like some superstar potential on that regional scene. I mean, he fought experienced guys like big shows. Young, already 21. He's already this good at 21. I mean, imagine how good he's gonna be when he, is 27 and in his prime. So, Bahamondes, I wasn't necessarily as high, as some others, just because I think he takes a lot of damage in his fights, but he does have a high pace. He is tough. He is a warrior, a Latin warrior. He's gonna stand in the pocket. The kicks are on point as well. I think the hands could be a little better. The way that I see this fight is, man, this is gonna be a showdown. I definitely think it could be lined closer. Like he definitely is coming off that spectacular win over Roosevelt Roberts, where he looked amazing. But let's not forget Roosevelt Roberts was out here getting finished by guys like Kevin Kroom inside less than a minute. So like and other guys like Roosevelt Roberts was on his way out. He had enough. I think he was a broken man. So you got to see Ignacio showcase all of his skills with not much pushback. Not saying that he can't handle pushback, because I have seen this kid fight. The guy that beat. I mean, what's his name?
Chris Brown.
Yeah, Chris Brown. He's got some good wins on that LFA scene, some wars. So look, I think Ignacio is probably going to be a little tougher for the duration of the 3 rounds in terms of being able to take shots and keep going forward. And I do think he should be favored. He's got slightly more experience, not necessarily fights, but just high level like LFA, UFC, Contender Series. But man, I honestly personally think Zurong has a higher ceiling, and I think Zurong is training at a good camp now, man. He's at ATT in Florida with some real killers, man. And I think that man, this is a dog or pass situation 100% to me. Like this kid Ignacio is good, but he takes shots. His face is covered in blood every single fight, pretty much, except the last one. But I wouldn't be shocked if he, his just his Latin spirit and his toughness edged it out down the stretch. So I'm gonna take Ignacio, but I think it's Zurong or pass betting wise.
All right, so before we talk about the main card, because I know everyone wants to hear about this Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues fight versus Armen Patrosyan, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks. So, guys, PrizePicks, like I said many times, the simplest and easiest way to make money on daily fantasy sports. Last week, the Kyle Dacas over under on significant strikes was like 50, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this dude's a grappler. He ain't landing no 50 strikes. That hit. Then the Jessica Rose Clark over under on takedowns was 2.5. Where I'm like, wait, but Egger's like the judo player. You're not about to come out here and take her down unless she's severely gassed down the stretch, which I thought Rose Clark was going to keep this fight standing, and she actually goes out there and initiates the clinch. Big mistake. But bottom line, that hit. And then I also took the under in the fantasy score for Joaquin Buckley. I thought Razak was going to knock him out, but it turned out being this 3-round war. And he obviously didn't cover his price tag, so that went 3 for 3. But guys, remember on PrizePicks, you don't got to go 3 for 3 like a parlay or something. You can go 2 for 3. You can go 3 for 3. Excuse me. You can go 2 for 3, 3 for 3, 3 for 4, 4 for 5. Like, you don't have to hit them all to cash out. That's the beauty about this. And you can combine sports if you want, or keep it the same sport. Just pick 2 to 5 players. No big deal. And if you use our code BATTLE, you get an 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So guys, just remember, it's you versus their projection. Don't worry about any stats nerds hacking any bullshit. Like, don't worry about any of that. Just you versus them. Find those inefficiencies. Take advantage of these grapplers unders on significant strikes. Like, if you know they're going to be out here grappling and not throwing strikes, like, why the fuck would you expect Kyle Dacas to throw 50 strikes? It's not Chris Dacas we're talking about. So take advantage of those spots. PrizePicks. Use our code BATTLE for an 100% deposit match up to $100. Now, Shaq, let's break down this main card, because first up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Gregory Rodrigues. He's 11-3. He's taking out Armen Patrosyan, who is 6-1. And currently, they got Gregory RoboCop minus 155. The comeback on Armen Patrosyan is plus 135. So Armen Patrosyan, not to be confused with the famous kickboxer Armen Patrosyan, however, has similar qualities, is also would appear to have some kind of seasoned kickboxing background. And I think that he's developing into MMA nicely. You know, the big thing you want to find out is about the ground game. And yes, he does get taken down. Yes, he does give up bad positions, but the guy's got a lot of heart, man. I mean, he's able to work out of them. He's able to get back up to his feet. He doesn't lose his confidence. And then when it's his turn to deliver his strikes, I mean, bodies do tend to hit the floor. Now, on the flip side, he's only 6-1 into his MMA career. So he's still got a long way to go. And actually, in 2021, he was knocked out pretty brutally by, you know, by a decent fighter, just not, you know, a UFC caliber type guy, which shouldn't take away from Armen, but just should more so go to show that he's still developing. He's still making that transition from kickboxing over to MMA. And with Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues, I mean, I'm very impressed with this guy, even in that fight that he lost against Jordan Williams. And guys, we got to make the distinction. Jordan Williams at 85s and Jordan Williams at 70s is a completely different guy. I'm not saying he's, you know, he's, you know, the hot shit at 185. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is his durability is much more there. I mean, he had that war with Ramazan Kurmagomedov. He knocked out Gregory Rodrigues. He had a war with Nasruddin Imavov. Whereas when he goes to 70, like the first punch that touches him, you know, puts him out. So that's why, like, the whole talk about Jordan Williams not cutting weight, there was a reason for that. But back to this. Listen, Gregory Rodrigues, the thing with him, man, is that he is a big physical presence for the 185-pound division, man. I mean, he's 6'3". He's got the 76-inch reach. And most importantly, this guy's paid his dues, man. I mean, he's beat some legit competition on his regional scene. This kid, Josh Friend, who he knocked out, who's actually just got signed to the UFC. You guys got to look out for Josh Friend, man. He's going to make some noise. In my opinion, the kid's very talented, just got signed. So he's got a knockout win over him. He beat Dusko Todorovic. He got to dig deep in that John Young Park fight. He was doing his whole thing. And then he kind of hit a wall a little bit, started to get rocked, but he dug deep and went to a place deep within to pull out that win. So it's very respectable. So as far as this matchup is concerned, I mean, look, RoboCop's a black belt. RoboCop hits hard. RoboCop is physical. Just, you know, there are some questions about the chin. You know, he does kind of stand, you know, very tall. He is very tall for the weight class. And this kid Patrosyan is a sniper. You got to be careful. But I do think that there's areas that can be exposed. I do think he can take him down. And while maybe some of these other guys weren't able to finish Armen Patrosyan on the mat, you know, the Kid on Contender series, maybe he wasn't able to do it, but I think that Gregory Rodrigues can. It's just my only issue is this. It's like we've seen Patrosyan survive these bad spots on the mat and come back and finish these guys. So what I'm worried about is, you know, let's say Gregory RoboCop takes his back for the entire first round, has him in the body triangles, attempting submissions, and he can't get it. Well, the next round starts on the feet. And, you know, I'm worried about seeing those muscles and, you know, him huffing and puffing. And that's where a guy like Armen Patrosyan can get off. But at the end of the day, I do think the experience difference in MMA is significant enough where I'm going to go with Rodrigues via submission, but I could see a Rodrigues knockout too. Like I said, Patrosyan got knocked out not too long ago by a lesser fighter. But also, if Rodrigues, you know, coming off 2 straight UFC wins, if he's starting to feel cocky, if he's starting to feel arrogant, if he's starting to feel like, oh, I can beat this kickboxer at his own game, that could be a recipe for Patrosyan knocking him out. So that's where you got to be careful. But aside from that, like Gregory, if you don't go to sleep, I think you win this fight, and I think you can even submit this guy. So give me Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues to make it 3 wins in a row inside the octagon.
Yeah, this is an intriguing fight, man. I was impressed with Petrosyan's Contender Series fight. I like the kickboxing, the ability to capitalize after you just got, grappled a little bit. The second they get back up, I love dudes that just attack right away with their head kick, the strikes up the middle, the straight punches. I mean, for a 6-1 guy, I was impressed. I've been impressed with RoboCop as well. The Jordan Williams fight, I didn't think that was a good showing, but I do think that he's gotten better, more comfortable. His composure has gotten better. My only issue with RoboCop is there's a similar pattern in his fights. He gets tired, man. I mean, look at that. Look at his frame. Big muscle guy. I mean, he's gonna get tired, and I'm glad you brought up the him submitting him thing. 100%. I mean, he's got the edge on the mat, and then the early goings could be very rough for Patrosyan. But it seems like there's a similar pattern in his fight, and there's a similar pattern in Patrosyan's fight. One guy loves getting grappled for a little bit, and he stand back up and he attacks, and the other guy, he even though he is this big black belt, he was on top of Dusko Todorovic. He's been on top of other guys. Park had their back, but he did not submit them. They did survive that. They did get out of those big body triangles and all those things. So I think that if the longer this fight goes, this is gonna favor Patrosyan, man. I think that Gregory Rodrigues needs to get rid of this guy quick and try to fully mount him and smash him or something like that, or knock him out on the feet, because the longer this fight goes, you play with range with this guy, Armen Patrosyan. I see something getting through. I see a front kick, a head kick, a knee, the boxing, the hand speed. I think that Gregory Rodrigues slows down in his fights. I think that his last fight against Jung Park made a critical mistake, man. I mean, you're in the pocket trading with a big. You see the size of this guy. You got to be more patient. His cardio is already waning. Just you still got another round left. Like, just be more patient. And this guy's gonna run himself into the ground. He's almost done. Like, I think that even the Dusko fight, he got tired. But Dusko's not a guy that pushes the pace. He's more of just kind of a point fighter, to be honest, with a little bit of power in there. But I think that I think Patrosyan, I'm gonna take him for the win. I think he finds an opportunistic late knockout. I think I mean, look, if he gets finished in the first round, that won't surprise me either, like you were saying. But I think that Patrosyan kind of has a habit for that, man. I think that Gregor's going to use a lot of energy this guy's got fights at 205. I think he's felt Arman, he's felt these big guys before like that. So hopefully that helps him out here in this fight with RoboCop, because RoboCop is hell on wheels while he's fresh. But I think Arman's going to get a late knockout.
Now, next up in the 155-pound division, we got a prospect showdown between Arman Tsarukyan, he's 17-2, taking on Joel Alvarez, who is 19-2. And currently they got Arman Tsarukyan minus 225. The comeback on Joel Alvarez is plus 185. So, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better prospect showdown. Some people complain about fights like these because they don't want to see either guy lose. Whereas I'm like, I want to know who the better prospect is. I want to know who's got the higher trajectory. And I mean, I think we kind of know the dynamic here. Arman Tsarukyan, it would behoove him to go to the wrestling. Joel Alvarez does have a 0% takedown defense in the UFC, but that might be a bit misleading because this guy is so goddamn opportunistic on the mat. And also with the size that he has, he's 6'3" at 155 pounds. He can actually be one of those guys that can pull off subs off his back. And then on the feet, Arman's got to be very, very careful. Arman has been rocked and he has been knocked out in fights before. And if you stand and bang with a guy like Joel Alvarez long enough, you might be hitting the deck. But either way, both these guys have clear paths to victory. How you see it going down? Because this is a true prospect showdown. I mean, look at the records and look at the performances these guys have been putting on in the UFC.
Yeah, this is a tough one because I don't like going against that camp.
Which camp?
The Tsarukyan camp. My boy Shaya. Whoever he manages, those dudes win a lot. And I like Tsarukyan. I mean, I've heard from top 3 fighters in his division that this kid is for real. Like that. He's one of the best young fighters that he's trained with. And Joel Alvarez, I mean, the performance he just put on against Thiago Moises, man, I mean, I was blown away by that. Like, it's kind of hard to fade him because of the size. Like, I'm getting major Charles Oliveira vibes with this guy. Like, he's dangerous. I mean, the knees up, the striking. Like, if he's striking and then like he's tall, like you can't just shoot in a shot from far out on this guy. I mean, he'll snatch up that neck quick and it'll be over. Like, I think this guy is very dangerous. I mean, I didn't think it was gonna happen this fast for him, to be honest. I mean, his local scene fights, he out there in Spain, he'd get laid on a lot, and things like that. And maybe that happens here. I'm just not interested in really fading either guy betting wise. But I do think it's a dog or passer situation. Yeah, Moises, look, he could have got demoralized as a lot of dudes do after the Islam fight. You know, Islam, you saw what happened to Dober and, Moises and some of these other guys. I mean, Islam can break you in a way that is tough. Maybe it was a perfect time for Joel to slide in there. But I mean, he's got a lot of tools. 6'3", a good striker, throwing knees up the middle, high kicks, got a mean guillotine. And this is
77-inch reach.
with like bad resources out there in Spain. Like he hasn't even been training at like no major camp. Like his head coach is Enrique Marin. Enrique Marin's a guy that fought Sage Northcutt back in the day. Like they're doing this with, in comparison to what Tsarukyan has, it's like, night and day. But man, Tsarukyan's a dog. I got nothing really bad to say about him. Yeah, his striking, I think that'll probably get exposed more once he gets to the higher levels. Maybe Saturday night, but I think he's good as hell, man. Tough, a grinder, a guy that's willing to work, and get his job done, no matter who he's in there with. So I'm gonna pick him for the win, but I'm gonna say a close decision. But for betting wise, is Joel or pass to me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Joel is so damn dangerous, man. And you know what's interesting? He's completely flipped the narrative about him, because I don't know if you remember when he first came into the UFC, even his first few fights, people were acting like Joel Alvarez sucks.
Well,
like
yeah,
that's how they would.
Demir wobbled him all over it, but Demir beat Moises too.
But it's not just Demir. Like even on his regional scene, like just these random dudes would just take him down with ease. Like so people went complete 180, like from like Joel Alvarez sucks to Joel Alvarez is a top 15 guy. And like I know people that were betting that fucking scrub Danilo Belluardo against Alvarez. Now all of a sudden they're betting Alvarez against Tsarukyan. So that just shows how much the perspective and just the overall view of Joel Alvarez has changed over the years, and rightfully so. Look at the performances he's been putting on. Look at the size. We can talk about the weight miss all we want. He hasn't missed weight yet, but still, like to me, like whatever. Like let's find out who's going to win the fight. Let's find out where the value is. So Armen Tsarukyan. Hold on one second. Just got to sneeze really quickly. Or not. So Armen Tsarukyan, what I love about him is that he's another one of these guys that I've been talking about for a while, where it's like he can have the relentless takedown after takedown after takedown, and that style is gonna win so many goddamn fights, man. I am telling y'all right now, this dude, like Matt Frevola, is a good wrestler. Armen Tsarukyan hit 10 takedowns on him, and let me see how many he attempted real quick, just out of curiosity. He went 10 for 12. I mean, when you can attempt 12 takedowns in a UFC fight, it is really a big deal. Basically, I do think it's finish or bust for Joel Alvarez in the spot, and it can happen. I mean, Tsarukyan has been knocked out before. Tsarukyan has been wobbled in fights before, so that's what you got to expect. And if he's underestimating Joel on the mat, like this ain't, some of these guys, like when you're 6'3", you can use those long limbs and catch submissions that other people normally can't do. But I have seen Tsarukyan out there with higher level black belts, such as Davi Hamosh, take him down and avoid any issues. Now, granted, Davi Hamosh is 5'8", 5'9". Joel, it's different with those long ass limbs, but Davi is a higher level black belt than Joel Alvarez. So I think Joel Alvarez has a very bright future. And yeah, there is a chance he comes out here and knocks out Armen Tsarukyan. But most likely what I think happens is that Armen Tsarukyan plays this smart and takes him down, neutralizes him, avoids the sub attempts, and just fights smart here.
You know what?
I mean, just go out there and just take this guy down repeatedly. Do what you have to do. This is not the fight to go test your boxing. Like, you're not going to go test your boxing against a guy who's that much taller, that has that much of a reach advantage, that's that durable. Like, fuck all that, man. If Armen does that, then, and if he wins that fight, hey, props. But if Armen tries that and he gets starched, he's got no one to blame but himself. So I think Armen's going to come out here smart. and rinse and repeat on the takedowns, eventually just neutralize the submission attempts and win this decision. And Joel Alvarez will be back. We're big fans of him. I just personally think Armen comes out here, wins this fight. And I will even say this might be a slight disagreement because you said it's dog or pass. I would not be surprised if Armen covered his price tag. Like a 30-27 is covering that price tag. And that's kind of what I see happening. But again, if he wants to test the stand up like Thiago Moises did, if he wants to be cocky, if he thinks because he just knocked out Christos Giagos that all of a sudden he's going to knock out Joel Alvarez, that's where the rude awakening might come in. But aside from that, I think Armen's going to take him down, avoid the subs, neutralize him, win this decision. Now, featured bout in the flyweight division. We got Priscilla Cachoeira. She's 10-4, taking on Yeon Kim, who's 9-4-2. And currently they got Yeon Kim -165. The comeback on Priscilla is +145. So y'all check out my interview with Daeun Jung. He's also from South Korea. Had him on the show the other night. And one thing we talked about, because like we've been talking about this for years, how that flight from Asia all the way to the States, it takes so much out of the Asian fighters that sometimes they don't perform at their optimal selves. And I asked like Daeun Jung, I was like, hey man, like, I mean, do you feel like 2 weeks to acclimate and then you're good to go? Because you got to consider this, Daeun Jung's been fighting all these fights like with only like 10 days to acclimate. So he feels like he hasn't even shown his best. He feels like he's been jet lagged every single UFC fight minus the one that was in South Korea, right? The Mike Rodriguez one, right? So like we're not even seeing the best versions of these guys. And I asked them how much time it would take for him to acclimate properly. Daeun Jung told me a month. Like that's like eye-opening as fuck that it would really take a full month for him to acclimate to that time change and the flight and everything. So the reason I bring that up is because Yeon Kim, also from South Korea, also had to make the flight. I highly doubt. So she did this camp in Vegas? Perfect. And I'm glad you brought that up because back to the Zhu Rong talk, another fighter where his UFC debut, he made the flight and looked like shit. But then the next one, he actually trained in the States and looked like a completely different man. So I'm glad Shaq brought up the fact that Yeon Kim's been training in Vegas. So now the jet lag's not going to be a factor. So that's something we had to point out. So now that we know, or we have an inkling it might not be a factor, what I wanna see is listen, Yeon Kim's got the big reach advantage. Yeon Kim's got the volume advantage. It's just that sometimes in these divisions, power can overcome technique. Now, I personally don't think that's going to be the case here. I think that Yeon Kim is very durable, and Priscilla is tough, and Priscilla is willing to do dirty things to win fights. And I know, like, on a moral level, that's not something we like, but on a betting on fights level, that's something we love. Do whatever you got to fucking do to win the fight. I just don't think those dirty tactics will be enough here. My only concern is this. There's been other fights where I felt like Yeon Kim had clear advantages, and the fights have played out way too close for my liking. Point in case, the Melinda Fabian fight. I remember you and I watched the tape on that. We're like, dude, there's like no way Yeon Kim loses this fight. And she didn't lose the fight, but it was still a split decision. It was still closer than I expected. So those are my concerns. But who the better fighter here is, I think it's Yeon Kim. It's just you got to watch out for that power. You got to watch out. Yeon Kim, that chin is straight up in the air, and Priscilla is tough and she can crack. But ultimately, I think that Yeon Kim lands the more volume on her, picks her apart, and wins this decision.
Yeah, I think Jeon Kim's got better hands. She has never been finished as far as I'm concerned. So she is durable. Priscilla Cachoeira, kind of predictable fighter, loads up, ground game isn't very good, wrestling isn't very good. Boxing really isn't good. It's just the power, like you said. And Jeon Kim, man, I mean, some of these girls like Molly McCann was cracking her chin. Like Alexa Grasso, I mean, but these girls are definitely better technical boxers than Priscilla, but they did touch her chin and she did get hit with several, big shots. So I'm interested to see what happens when Priscilla, if she lands those type of shots. But, Jeon Kim, she has been putting in some hard work. It seems like she, she's out here in Las Vegas now trying to make, trying to make a change in her career, because I mean, look, she could be on the chopping block. Both of these girls could be on the chopping block. So, she needs to get a win. I think she will get the win if she mixes in the takedown. Like, that's the key to winning this fight, in my opinion. Shorty Priscilla can't grapple to save her life. So I think that would be the smart. But if she wants to stand in the pocket and box as she's known for, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm not. I mean,
Here's the issue. Jeon Kim's landed a grand total of 0 takedowns in her
exactly. Like,
career.
she's never. But
Not saying
if
it can't
now
happen.
that she's with this new camp, maybe John Wood says, "Look,
Let's change it up.
yeah, like you need to shoot." So we'll see what happens. But I'll pick Gian for the win. But betting wise, I don't know.
Co-main event of the evening in the middleweight division. We got Misha Tsarukyan. He's 15-7, taking on Wellington Turman, who is 17-5. And currently they got Misha Tsarukyan. It just depends where you look. Minus 115, the comeback on Wellington Turman, minus 105. You can get some plus 100s on Wellington Turman in this spot here. I gotta be honest with you, man. I've never been a Misha Tsarukyan believer. Like, I'm very aware he's got some physical tools. He's a big guy. He's strong, and he actually beat some really good guys early on in their career. But I'm just under the belief that if he ever fought Krylov again, if he ever fought Crude again, if he ever fought Kudalaba again, like, I truly believe those guys finish him. I think he caught them at the right time. That's not to discredit him at all. But my issue with Misha Tsarukyan is, with some fighters, they have all these great tools, but there's certain things missing. And I just don't think that at the UFC level that Misha Tsarukyan, has the, again, it's tough for a non-fighter to question a fighter's heart. But again, I'm not saying a fight between Daniel Levy and Misha Tsarukyan. I'm saying at the UFC level in a co-main event, like we've seen Tsarukyan have no issues covering up after taking one shot multiple times. And I'm not talking about being knocked out. That's a different story. I'm talking about saying, let's live the fight another day. No big deal. The Ryan Spann fight, some other fights, come up to mind as well. And with Wellington Turman, the thing about him is, I know that he's had a rocky UFC start, but you got to take into consideration that he's only 25 years old. This kid was born in 1996. He's just a kid. So you got to give him some time to develop. And some of the guys he's been in there with are so much more experienced than him. I mean, Bruno Blindado is a vicious knockout artist, man. And with Misha Tsarukyan, you gotta more so look out for these opportunistic finishes, because on the mat, that Peruvian necktie he hit on Jimmy Crute was beautiful, and he's got some stuff. I mean, that face crank on Alex Nicholson, you remember that? That was a minus 750 face crank. You could hear the sound of that on the TV. I just have a hard time seeing him do that to a fellow black belt, and I think the big difference here is the confidence right now. I think that Wellington Turman got back on track his last fight. Now, guys, don't let the it says it was a split decision with Sam Alvey. Don't let that fool you. The only reason it was a split was because Wellington Turman actually lost 2 points. So, and I believe Adelaide Bird was the one that gave it to Alvey. But I mean, either way, it's unanimous without the 2-point deduction. So it's just a thing where, there are questions. What if Wellington gets caught? Maybe he doesn't have the best chin. He has been knocked out twice. But if this becomes like, who wants it more? Who's got more heart? Who's ready to dig deep? I mean, I think that's Wellington Turman in this spot. So, yeah, give me Wellington Turman to come out here and just pull away down the stretch. As long as he doesn't get finished in the early going with something. I mean, I just think that Misha Tsarukyan, like, I bet in the gym he's the man. And I know he was able to catch some good guys early on in their careers. I just think that, we're past that now. And I think a hungrier fighter is going to come in here and take his spot. So give me Wellington Turman to edge out the decision.
Yeah, man. I've always said I kind of think Serkinov, when fights get tough, he kind of folds. To be honest, I think that last one he was lucky that was a split decision. I kind of had that 3 rounds to zip for Kirstov, and Misha Serkinov at the end of the fight completely broke, in my opinion. He got taken down, which is something he prides himself on, by a point fighter in Jocko as well. So I think Yeah, I think Misha Serkinov's best days are behind him. Wellington Thurman, I think all the skills are there to be relevant. I think all the skills are there for him to have a successful career. I just think he was young, man. You get thrown into a spot, you're fighting grown men, and when you're a kid and you don't have that maturity, and you can tell when he fought Sanchez, he didn't respect Andrew Sanchez's power at all. I mean, he was just waving him on in the middle in the first round, because he did that against Maluko, and he got it against Marcus Perez, and his confidence was probably up. He's probably a little arrogant, and I think Andrew Sanchez and Bruno Blindado taught him some real lessons. I think the Bruno Blindado fight was just, I mean, that dude's knocking everyone out
It's a
right
different
now.
level.
So yeah,
Imagine
and I
what Bruno
think,
would do to Misha.
and I think that his fight with Alvey, even though Sam Alvey sucks, and Sam Alvey, it's just an opportunity for him to go 3 rounds without getting knocked out and without getting his confidence back. Now I think the momentum is on his side. I think he's clearly the more aggressive fighter, clearly the more hungrier fighter. I mean, Misha Serkinov. Firstly, when's the last time he knocked out anything? Yeah, exactly. Like, I think like the last time he knocked out anything was it's been quite some time. This guy's a submission guy.
Daniel Jolly.
He's gonna try to get that submission. It's not gonna happen. All Wellington Thurman needs to do is not make any fatal mistakes. I think that he's gonna push the harder pace. He's gonna move forward and just be younger, fresher. This guy Misha's a stiff. He's been in and out. He's been, doing other things. I think that Wellington Thurman is going to get the job done here, and kind of I think it's going to be a dominant. I think Misha, low key, this might don't be shocked if this is one of those performances where everything falls off the table and Wellington just comes out here and dominates him.
Main event of the evening, we got an 160-pound catchweight fight between Islam Makhachev, who's 21-1. You don't often see records like that in MMA. Also on a 9-fight win streak in the UFC, taking on Bobby, the motherfucking king, Green, who is 29-12. And currently, they got Islam Makhachev minus 900. The comeback on Bobby Green is plus 600. So, I mean, listen, man, we're such big fans of Bobby Green. I'll always have a soft spot for Bobby Green, not just for the performances, but back in the day, before I was even on Twitter, before like half the battle was a thing, I bet Bobby Green at plus 250 against Josh Thompson, man. And, obviously you took note when he fought Volkman. Volkman was like the most boring fighter in the UFC, and the way that Bobby Green overcame adversity. You remember what Dana was saying? Like, if you want to stick around, fight like Bobby Green. You remember that? And the Pat Healy clinic. So this dude has been doing his thing for so many years, and it's awesome to see him get this opportunity. But at the same time, I more so want to see Bobby Green in fun fights. And I'm not saying Islam's not a fun fight. I'm saying Islam's more of a top 5 fighter. Islam's more of a, potential future title challenger type fighter. I don't see Bobby doing as well with the top 5 guys in the division. I see Bobby doing well, if this is for the BMF belt and you get, a Donald Cerrone, you get another exciting fighter in there with him, a Jorge Masvidal. Like, those are the fights I want to see Bobby Green in. But props to him for being a real OG and stepping up here. And, I'm excited for him. It's just that the way that they match up stylistically, like I've been talking about this style for so long, man. I was talking about it with Malkoun. I was talking about it with Jonathan Pierce, Nick Maximov, Merab Dawalishvili, Bilal Muhammad. Like, yeah, I think Bobby Green stuffs the first takedown. I think Bobby Green stuffs the first 2 takedowns. I think he even stuffs the 4th takedown. I just don't think he stuffs the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th. And eventually, I think he does get submitted. Now, the big question here, fight goes the distance, is plus 250, Shaq. Like, can Bobby Green survive all 5 rounds, get this plus 250, goes the distance? I'd love to see it. I just personally don't think so with the kind of relentless pressure that Islam brings to the table. Like, again, Islam's not going to tire out after attempting 5 takedowns. He's not going to tire out after attempting takedowns. But I do think that Bobby Green will start to fatigue, after having to defend over and over. Like I said, early on, there might be some exciting scrambles. Early on, Bobby might get up to his feet. Early on, Bobby might land a jab across, might be taunting him. It might be fun. But at some point, Islam is going to wear him down. And that's going to be when he gets the sub. It has been over 12 years since Bobby Green has been submitted. There's been a long ass time, Shaq. But I think it can happen. I think it happens Saturday night, and I think Islam's got a point to prove. Like oftentimes with matchups like this, guys will play it safe because it's like, uh, um, what is it? High risk, low reward. I don't think that's the case here, man. I think that Islam wants to make a statement. I think he does make a statement. I think he submits Bobby Green, and I think he gets his title shot. And I think we all tip our cap to Bobby Green. I don't want to hear anybody talking any shit about Bobby Green after this fight. Bobby Green's got all the balls. He's got all my respect. I'll always love Bobby Green. And thank you for cashing that ticket for me against Nasrat 2 weeks ago. I mean, dude, Bobby, you're the fucking man for just even stepping up to the plate to do this. So we love you, Bobby Green, but we want to see Bobby Green in exciting fights, not in top 5 fights. So Islam wins this fight via submission or ground and pound TKO and secures his title shot and makes it 10 wins in a row.
Yeah, I mean, pretty simple, man. I love Bobby, but I mean, we're talking about Khabib Jr. here. This guy Makhachev is nothing to play with, man. I've kind of been noticing that for a while now. Kind of didn't want to admit it because you already know when guys like him get around, it's like, what path the division is going to go on now. And, I'm waiting for that big showdown with him and Charles Oliveira one day, man. I'm like, let's grapple,
Straight up, let's fucking grapple.
But I think that yeah, man, I like Bobby, but let's not forget Thiago Moises picked this guy up and put him in the air in the first round, and carried him over to his corner and everything. So like, if Thiago Moises is doing that, what do you think Islam's gonna do? He doesn't even need to pick him up that high, man. He can just do his thing. I think that his ground game is honestly like just too overpowering. Like you saw what he did to Hooker. Hooker knows how to grapple, man.
Who's finished Hooker in the first round?
You don't think Hooker knows how to grapple? And I mean, what he did to him, I was like, wow, okay, so he is the real deal. He is a future champ, huh? So yeah, man, I got Islam. I see this guy probably getting the belt at some point. It's just gonna come down to that showdown. Charles has got to get through his next fight, and Islam has got to, get through his next few fights. So, I'm gonna go with Islam to submit Bobby, man. Probably a Kimura, probably some, who knows, something like that.
You're going Kimura?
I'm going Kimura.
I'm going rear naked choke.
I don't see Bobby going out to rear naked choke. Maybe Kimura.
Yeah. But either way, I just want, if Bobby listens to this, like, you gotta understand the kind of respect we have for Bobby just for stepping up.
After this fight, let's do Bobby versus, Jim Miller. I mean, they've been supposed to fight like 3-4 times, man.
Bobby versus Jim Miller after this, and yeah. So much respect to, I'd call him, a mini legend. Like Bob, we've been watching Bobby Green 10+ years, man. So
beating dudes.
Like, dude, Bobby Green is the fucking man. So we're grateful that he stepped up. It's just a tough matchup. He knows it. We know it. Everybody knows it. So Islam most likely finishes this fight. All right, everybody, do us a favor, smash that like button for us, and also leave us some comments, like not here in the chat, but like afterwards on the video. Just leave us any comment. Like, apparently that helps out the whole thing. And hit the like button. Like, let's blow this shit up. And also do us a favor and share this, retweet it. Like, let people know we're out here talking fights and giving out good information. So Shaq, let's talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So in your opinion, my man, what is the fight to watch for UFC Vegas 49?
My fight to watch is in the lightweight division. Ignacio versus Rong. I mean, I think it's a prospect showdown. Who wants to advance themselves? You got two young guys, Rong being really young, and Zurong already dyed his hair pink. I want to see if Ignacio is gonna lose to a guy with pink hair. And Ignacio is coming off that vicious knockout of Roosevelt. Let's see how he bounces back, man. I know he got some money in his pocket now. I know he's living life better these days. So let's see. That's the fight I'm excited for.
One I'm excited for is, we've been waiting for this for a while. Fares Ziam versus Terrance McKinney, man. Like, I got my suspicions about Terrance McKinney, and I think that Fares Ziam hasn't truly shown what he's capable of inside the octagon, and I think he will. He's just a kid. He's young. And also, I forgot to mention my breakdown because the whole thing about Terrance grappling this fight, you know that Perez, not only has he been training at Sanford MMA, but he's also been training with Wagner Hosha jiu-jitsu on his grappling. So it's not like this guy's out here skipping jiu-jitsu day. So you don't got to worry about that. The only thing is, like, I bet Perez Ziam at like plus 110 when they were scheduled to fight the first time. Now he's like minus 125. Just depends where you look. I see a minus 110 somewhere, but that plus money's gone. So now it depends, like, is there still value at minus money? So that's the question I can't wait to have answered. But yeah, Perez Ziam versus Terrance McKinney is my fight to watch. Shaq, who is your fighter to watch?
My fighter to watch is gonna be, man. I'm gonna say Wellington Thurman, man. I mean, look, he's a young kid. I think he's got a good opportunity this weekend. You got Serkinov, a guy that's been in the top 15 at 205 pounds. Now he's trying his 185 thing. I think he's showing signs of wanting a way out, man. I think this is a good opportunity for Wellington. Let's see if he passes it, and maybe this will, kind of ease up some of those past, performances, man. Where he did get knocked out, and now Wellington gets back on track. So
yeah, and for me, my fighter to watch is actually on the first fight of the night, and that's Carlos Hernandez. He's a UFC newcomer. I was so impressed with his Contender Series fight that I was literally tweeting on the night, like, dude, put him in there with like Tim Elliott right now. That's where I thought his skill level was at. And I want to see if I'm right because, under the actual bright lights of the UFC, I know it's the exact same venue that he fought on Contender Series. It's just there's different stakes on the line in the UFC, especially your UFC debut. And I want to see if he comes out here and rises to the occasion because he's got a very tough opponent in front of him, a guy that's not going to quit. And we already know Hernandez has zero quit in his heart. So I just want to see. I want to gauge the potential of Hernandez on this UFC debut, and for that reason, he is my fighter to watch. Well, Shaq, we did it. It's going down Saturday night live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Everybody, thank you all so much for being here. We truly appreciate it, and do us that favor. Hit that like button, comment, share, retweet, everything. Like, let's get it out there. You can follow Shaq on Twitter at MMA Genius 05. You can follow me at Best Fight Picks. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places where we are available. Shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks. Use that code BATTLE for an 100% deposit match up to $100. And y'all check out the interview I did with Dawoon Jung. Like, first time I've ever had an interpreter. And I thought, like, we put on a fucking show. Like, sometimes with these other interviews, like when there's an interpreter and a language barrier, it can be like boring as fuck and everything's lost in translation. Like, dude, the interpreter we had like was charismatic and like really killed it. So I thought we had one of the best conversations I've had with any fighter, and it was pretty awesome. So y'all make sure you check that out. Shaq and I will be back for the next card next Thursday. So thank you all so much. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.